The Glenville story is a story of drive and passion that has taken 50 years to unfold. Founded by my father Mike in 1956, Glenville has grown to become one of Australia's premium home builders that since its inception has constructed tens of thousands of homes in Australia and the west coast of the USA. But the Glenville story didn't just happen by itself, and credit is due to the pioneering spirit of Mike Warson, my father, who passed away a year ago. Mike arrived in Australia in 1955 and moved in with his sister after studying to become a surveyor in Italy after the Second World War. With no idea of what he wanted to do other than run his own business, whilst playing bridge with friends in 1956, he was talked into becoming a builder. So after a brief career at the Board of Works, Mike set up H&W Builders and was soon building small houses one at a time. Glenville Homes was formally established in 1958. The Glenville name came about due to the availability of a disused company name that was originally intended for a frock shop in Acland Street, St Kilda. Mike's ambition to build multiple houses at the same time came a few years later, and in 1960, Mike built his first display home in Doncaster. In the early 1960s, a number of partnerships came and went. In particular, Mike partnered with Alex Tonkin, another migrant from Poland, and for a number of years they worked together and were known as Glenville and Tonkin Homes. My introduction to the business came about by visiting my father's offices. When I was about 10, I said to my mother, "I want to do Dad's job when I'm older." My mother couldn't quite understand my request and said, "Why?" And I said, "Because he doesn't do anything all day. All he does, he just sits in his office and screams at people all day." Display homes in those days became tourist attractions, and the home building business grew. Throughout the 1960s and the 1970s, homes were constructed in new residential subdivisions in Melbourne's east. New suburbs sprang up: Mill Park, Donvale, Boronia, Bayswater and the like. In 1968, Glenville opened new offices in Nunawading, and in 1969, Glenville won its first award and ultimately became the most honoured builder in Australian history. Glenville was building homes that were unique to their day. New features were adopted that created the demand for Glenville homes. A.V. Jennings and Glenville jostled year in, year out for the number one spot. In the 1970s, new offices were opened interstate and the business grew. Not all business ventures proved successful. In 1974, Mainline Constructions bought into Glenville, but this venture failed and almost brought about the ruin of the Glenville name. Glenville needed to restructure, and in 1975, Mike opened the first supercentre in Australia. 10 homes in one location, all upmarket. Silverine Court, Vermont South. He even named the home after me, the Glenard, the cheapest home he ever built. Mike ventured across the Pacific and set up shop in Los Angeles. He built homes in the new sprawling suburbs of California. Mike had dreams and loved to push the envelope. In 1978, he opened a display home on top of a car park in Orchard Avenue Surfers Paradise, unheard of in its time, and obviously attracted publicity and created presence in the growing South Queensland market. Also in the 1970s, Mike opened other companies to capitalise on the need to compete against cheaper builders. He opened Champion Homes. By 1980, business was flourishing, and as Mike liked to work alone, he bought out the other investors that had invested in the company a few years earlier. In the 1980s, he opened the Boutique Collection, upmarket homes in Malvern and Toorak and through to the Doncaster area, and even built a display home in the middle of Melbourne CBD, again on top of a car park in Exhibition Street. Many styles, ranges and price brackets became the Glenville signature. In Doncaster, a centre of 5 upmarket homes were built. The flagship, the Glen 5, was the first of its kind. Soon after, a high-rise was built in St Kilda Road. This was a successful building, but a financial disaster due to issues with the BLF. In 1983, Mike launched his Glen Duo concept, unheard of in its time. 2 houses on one block. Glenville bought new offices in St Kilda Road, and the company expanded into retirement villages, commercial properties, townhouses, and continued expansion into southeast Queensland. I joined Dad in 1985. I studied accounting and knew very little about building, but one thing led to another and we opened the Cathy's Lane Supercentre in Wantirna in 1986. Cathy's Lane was truly unique, and launched my career in architecturally designed homes. Later, I would open the first inner suburban display home for the industry in Kooyong Road, Caulfield. A number of business ventures came and went. They included our international and Prentice brands, but the core business has sustained, including our property development, project construction, home extensions, franchise and Australian country homes. The Glenville Group has triumphed in a most difficult industry over this last 50 years. My father's positive attitude, no contemplation of failure and business acumen has generated this drive to success. Like many immigrants from the ravages of post-war Europe, Formica was always about giving it a go and not looking back. Glenville was and remains an innovative building company. So many firsts in home design, lifestyle and construction that have made our homes a signature in Australia. Landscaped gardens, cathedral ceilings, family rooms, parents' retreats, ensuite bathrooms, all ideas now taken for granted. This was my father's vision. To this day, Glenville has won over 100 awards and is still Australia's most honoured builder. Mike has left a reputation that is unheard of in what is a tough business. A person who came to Australia with nothing, spoke little English, and just the vision to create his own business. This is the history of the Glenville Group, and through my father's legacy, the Glenville Group will remain for another 50 years and beyond.